Welcome to a place of quiet and calm amid the busyness of this season. There are many reasons we may need such a place of calm. Perhaps you're grieving a loved one who has died, or a friend has moved away. Perhaps you receive difficult news about your health, or a treasured relationship is under strain, or perhaps you just feel overwhelmed and stressed and need to pause for a time. Whatever the reason that draws you, know that you are welcome just as you are. I invite you to join with me in our words that center us. For many, Christmas is a joyful time with songs of cheer and gatherings with loved ones. We may want this Christmas too, but we are here knowing this season can be bittersweet. We feel many emotions as we gather. Worried, trapped, insecure, adrift, or alone. Grieving what might have been but will not be. Grieving what used to be but cannot be anymore. Whatever we may be feeling, we offer it to the one for whose coming we yearn, whose birth in Bethlehem brings healing and hope. So let us sing together a hymn that speaks of that hope. O little town of Bethlehem, Voices United number 64. That's the Reddish hymn book, 64. I invite you to remain seated for all of our hymns. It's just a nice reflective time together. During the season of Advent, we light candles to help us mark our weeks of expectant waiting. Tonight, we light these same candles, but with different purpose, as we name the grief, pain, fear, and struggle that are also a part of this season. With each lighting, we invite times of meditation and prayer, words of scripture and singing. We bring all of these things before God. We begin lighting a candle to acknowledge our grief. Grief for loved ones who died, relationships ended, independence compromised, so many kinds of losses that we may have experienced.
This is a reading called Adrift by Mark Napel. Everything is beautiful, and I am so sad. This is how the heart makes a duet of wonder and grief. The lightly spraying through the lace of the fern is delicate as the fibers of the memory forming their web around the knot in my throat. The breeze makes the birds move from branch to branch, as this ache makes me look for those I've lost in the next room, in the next song, in the laugh of the next stranger. In the very center, under it all, what we have, what no one can take away, and all we have lost while we face each other. It is here that I am adrift, feeling punctured by a holiness that exists inside everything. I am so sad, and everything is beautiful.
We light another candle, naming our fears. Fear of uncertainty, being alone, of what the future may hold. Whatever holds us from living life to the full. We may be afraid, but God promises that we are not alone.
Our next reading is adapted from Psalm 55, a psalm of lament. God, listen to my prayer. Don't avoid my request. I'm beside myself. My heart pounds in my chest. Fear and trembling have come upon me. I'm shaking all over. I say to myself, I wish I had wings like a dove. I'd fly away and rest. I'd run so far away, I'd live in the desert. I'd hurry to my hideout, far from the rushing wind and storm. I call out to God at evening, morning, and midday. I complain and moan so that God will hear my voice. God, save me from my struggle. I cast my burden on the Lord.
We light the next candle, not just acknowledging our pain and hurt, but knowing that as we name them, we create space for others to come alongside us in support and love, opening up the promise of a new day.
At the End of the Day by Rabindranath Tagore. I know this day will come to an end. At the end of the day, wanly smiling, the dying sun will look at my face, bidding me its last farewell. The flute will play by the side of the way, the cattle will graze on the banks of the river. In the courtyard the children will play, and the birds will sing. Still, the day will come to an end. To you I only pray. Before I go, let me know, looking at the sky, why Mother Earth so green gave me a call, why the silence of the night told me the stories of the stars, why the lights of the day raised waves in my mind. This is what I pray. When on this earth the game of my life will be over, in a harmony may I stop my song. May I fill with fruits and flowers the trays of the seasons. May I see you in the light of my life and give you my garland when I shall end my days on this earth.
We light the fourth candle in recognition that the grief we carry is not all that we are. That there can be moments of joy, that we will regain a sense of hope, that in our sorrow we are held in God's love.
Our next reading is from Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. In those days, the decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged, and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger.
Christmas is a time of colored lights and joyful music, holiday nostalgia, and festive gatherings. And for some, it's a time when it feels like you have to plaster a fake smile on your face. Because for many of us, Christmas is not an easy time. It can be a challenge to admit that Christmas is not an easy time. And for some of us, that not easy time lasts a year or two. For some, it may last much longer. And that's okay. It's okay to admit aloud that you're a Grinch or a Scrooge or any other name because you find it hard to celebrate at Christmas. I've been called Grinch more than once over the last few decades. Even given myself the title. In fact, the Grinch has pride of place on the shelf each year as my spouse festoons the house with one Santa after another, but I have my Grinch. I usually say I don't like Christmas because I don't like what has become, and that's an easy thing as a clergy person to say. I can hide behind a spiritual veneer. I'll say it's all a bit showy, it's all a bit commercial. And then I fret over the state of the world, and I say economically, socially, ecologically, we can't do Christmas like this anymore, and I stomp my feet. I say it's better that we have a simpler, more spiritual, reflective Christmas. And I get to put on that veneer, put on my social justice warrior hat, and hide behind that and have people leave me alone. Sometimes I'll have a different claim. It's more relational. Because Christmas is very child-forward, very mom and dad and 2.3 kids forward. And I felt this most poignantly in my former ministerial life when I was first ordained and I was still a Roman Catholic. And Christmas for me was incredibly lonely. The services ended, and I went home alone. Now, it's not that way anymore. I've been happily married to Glenn for coming on to 20 years. It'll be 20 years this coming June. But at the same time, there's a pull. Yes, I have a partner, and his family accepts me, and mine accepts him. But I know it's not the case for many people who identify within the LGBTQIA+ community. I get upset and feel blue over the lack of equality, over the possible rejection of people by their families, whether they have to pretend they're something that they aren't. And so I put on my Pride Solidarity badge and hide behind that for a bit. But beneath all of that is a much deeper reason. You're supposed to preach from your scars, not your wounds, but it's feeling like a wound tonight. "50 years ago this year was my last Christmas with my mother. Less than 2 weeks later, she took her life. Barely past Epiphany. And though it's been an incredibly long time, boy, does each Christmas it feels fresh. Compounded by my dad's death 3 years ago. I rejoice in spending time with my in-laws. I love them dearly. And I'm thrilled to be living in Newfoundland as Glenn can nurture a relationship with his dad. I'm thrilled every time he calls his mom in Alberta. But it hurts because my parents are gone. Now, my faith is, of course, a strength. I know that my parents are not gone. They're more in another room gone. They're more the cycle of life. Living gives way to dying, which gives birth to a new living, kind of gone. a gifting of self so that life can move on, kind of gone. But that's bittersweet. Which makes this tug time for me, and I'm sure for many of you, that's why you're here. The various readings name that. Hope you notice that they were chosen carefully. Grief mixed with wonder. Anger mixed with hope. A sense of transition, a sense of one day passing over to another. And if we're attentive, there's the same tension in the Christmas story that we know far too well. In fact, even the juxtaposition of reading to verse was intentional. A bit of a bittersweet with joy. Because that's what this season feels like for us. And when we pay attention to the first part of that Christmas story, we notice the tension. Yes, Mary is a new mom. It's beautiful. It's wondrous. But she gives birth in a moment of challenge. It's likely the home of a distant relative, not a stable, which is why the New Translation says guest room, not inn. Be prepared in case some of your congregations use that translation. We won't be here. Not sure that St. James is ready for guest room rather than inn. I'll just preach about it. But she's still far from her family. And it's a time of unrest. They're forced to go far away because of a census, because of a foreign ruler. And she's not sure what's coming next. She's been told that her child is going to be holy, that he will bring healing to others. But a few short verses later, she'll be told that he is going to suffer and that a sword will pierce her heart as well. It's bittersweet. Jesus born in the dark of the night, but he is born as light of the world. And that is key, I think, to this time, to recognize the tension is not a permanent tension, but one that gives way eventually from night into dawn. As surely as the night gives way every day into dawn, so does grief give way slowly, ever so slowly, to hope and to love and to possibility and to joy. But hope asks us to trust, and trust asks us to hope. One of the things about the dark is that it's incredibly important for life to come. This feels like a dark time for most of us who have gathered here. But night is the time when we dream. Night is the time when our body heals. Night is the time when our heart heals as well. The dark of the soil is where the seed cracks open and germinates. And in the dark of the womb, a child gestates and grows. And so in the dark of this day, we wait, knowing, hoping, trusting that growth comes, joy comes, the dawn comes. In honor of that flickering hope, we invite you to come forward as you feel called, if you feel called, to light a candle. It may be for a loved one who has died. It may be for any other number of losses that you have experienced recently. Or maybe it's for someone you know who's having a hard time and needs some prayer. Whatever it may be, I invite you to kindle light. In our coming together this night, we have called to mind feelings of sadness and fear and loss. We've also come together knowing and naming the hope that comes, especially when we connect with others in supportive community. And so as we feel the depth of a dark night, we trust that it can be a time of growth and healing, where a dream is born in our hearts as we await the dawn, where a seed does germinate and a flower grows. That new day slowly comes, made more real in the support of all who have stood with us in love. And it comes too in the knowledge that we are not alone. We're not the first to have experienced grief or struggle or hurt. Our ancestors knew this before us, and they kept moving forward even when the way ahead was unclear, and we can as well. We draw on their strength, and we draw on their courage. And the day comes slowly in the new moments that we get to treasure, in a friendship that will grow, in a truth that will be discovered, in a dream that is given new energy, and in faith that deepens and matures through this experience. As we look toward the future, we know the shadows will come again, yet in our hearts shines the everlasting light of God's presence, bringing us peace and nurturing us in love. I invite you to respond. God of hope, give us this night a glimpse of trust and assurance, a sense of purpose and possibility. Open us to your presence in our hearts, bringing comfort, consolation, and peace. Amen. We'll join together in singing a Silent Night at Voices United, number 67. And of course, you can remain seated. Before I conclude with our blessing, it's a lovely poetic blessing. Before I do so, a couple of things. One, there is refreshments available in our fellowship room, so that's through this door, hang left, hang right on the right-hand side. One of the things I find is so beautiful, wonderful about a Blue Christmas celebration is a chance to just to connect with others, just chat, have tea, have a coffee. There's decaf things there too, so you can avail yourself. Equally so, though, if anybody needs over this time that something has surfaced and you just need to talk to somebody, I'm going to hang out in the sanctuary for a bit in case anybody could use that. And of course, you're also free just to head on out into the night. Don't feel pressured in either direction. This blessing is entitled Blessing for the Longest Night by Jan Richardson. It's a word of blessing knowing that the one who was born on that night long ago continues to walk with us, leading us toward dawn. All throughout these months, as the shadows have lengthened, this blessing has been gathering itself, making ready, preparing for this night. It has practiced walking in the dark, traveling with its eyes closed, feeling its way by memory, by touch, by the pull of the moon even as it wanes. So believe me when I tell you this blessing will reach you, even if you have not light enough to read it. It will find you even though you cannot see it coming. You will know the moment of its arriving by your release of the breath you have held so long, a loosening of the clenching in your hands, of the clutch around your heart, a thinning of the darkness that had drawn itself around you. This blessing does not mean to take the night away, but it knows its hidden roads, knows the resting spots along the path, knows what it means to travel in the company of a friend. So when this blessing comes, take his hand, get up, set out on the road you cannot see. This is the night when you can trust that any direction you go, you will be walking toward the dawn.